Hello Team Little Rock. I'm Peggy Bennett from the Airman Valley Readiness Center. I'm one of your certified financial counselors, and today we're going to go over understanding credit. So we're going to look at credit. What is it? What is credit? How important is it? How's it measured? Who measures it? What hurts it? And how do you build it or fix it? So first of all, we have to figure out what is credit? Well, by definition, the personal finance textbook says credit is a term used to describe an arrangement in which goods, services, or money is received in exchange for a promise to pay a definite sum of money at a future date. So there's your technical definition of credit. My coworker, our other certified financial counselor, Rick Tomaskovic, his definition is a lender's willingness to loan me money based upon reliable third-party information. So he talks about this third party. What is that third party? Let's get into where they're getting this information from. But first, a couple other things we're going to talk about. Who sees my credit? Anyone with a legitimate need for information can see your credit. So your ex-spouse does not have a legitimate need. They can't be pulling your credit report. Good thing, huh? Banks, you're applying for a loan, a bank is going to pull your credit report. Creditors, you go out for to get a new credit card, they'll pull your credit report. Utility companies, when you go to get utilities turned on, a lot of them will pull your credit report to determine whether or not you need to pay a deposit. If you've got good credit, there's no deposit required. Insurance companies will also pull your credit report, and that's to determine your policy, how much you're going to pay for your policy. Potential employers may pull a credit report. Potential landlords are going to want to know if they're going to get their rent. Your bank or credit union, they could pull your credit report. And one that's not on here would be for active duty military folks. When you're getting your security clearance renewed or initially, they're going to pull your credit report because they want to make sure you got good credit on there. So that's really important for our active duty folks. All right, so let's talk about some benefits to using credit. Some people think credit's a bad thing, some people think it's a good thing, so we're going to talk about both sides of it. First one is your the benefits. So with safety and convenience, you shop it online, it's a lot safer to use your credit card than it is to use your debit card. They steal your information, you can dispute it with the credit card company, whereas with the bank it's a lot harder to do. It also keeps a record, where you spent it, who it went to, and how much you spent. Access to cash in an emergency, so if you're traveling from here out of state and your car breaks down and you need to get that car fixed, you have that credit card, and that's a good benefit there. But on a side note to that, if you're in the local area or if you're near a base, Air Force Aid, go see them. They have 0% interest loans for emergencies. Identification for reservations, a lot of hotels and car rental places only take a credit card to hold your reservation. They won't take a debit card. Ability to use the product or service now. Take advantage of free credit. So if you have if they're offering you free credit for a certain amount, 0% interest on this card for a certain amount of time, that's could be good, could be bad. As long as you pay it off within that 6-month time period or 12-month, whatever that period is, then it's good. If you don't pay it off within that time, then you could go all the way back to the very beginning and add the interest on. So you want to be careful on that. To purchase assets such as home or education. So a home, education, car, things like that you're not going to have the money right there available. That's a good credit. To consolidate debt, again, that one's kind of if you can manage the consolidation without taking on more debt, it could be good and getting a better interest rate. And protection against rip-offs and frauds. So those are good things. What about bad things? Or the downside, I should say. Debt reduces your ability to save and invest. So if you have debt, you're paying not only on the debt, but you're paying interest on that. Especially if you don't pay it off every month, you're paying interest every month. So that's going to reduce your ability, that money that you're paying there could go towards savings, investing, retirement, some other type of fund. Temptation to overspend. It's a lot easier to swipe that card than it is to pull out a $20 bill or something like that. And a lot of people have more than one credit card. So yeah, I can use this card today, and yeah, that's the next one. Overstretched Americans. Most Americans have 3 to 4 credit cards. So we could become one of those overstretched Americans. The interest. Interest is one of the biggest downsides of credit. You're gonna look at your credit card statement, and it's gonna tell you exactly how much interest you're paying every month, what your annual percentage rate is. And we're gonna talk about that at the very end of this course. And it also, again, reduces your flexibility. It reduces your flexibility to purchase other items. Again, it goes back to the very top one. It reduces, your inability to save and invest. So there's the downers. There's different types of credit. So the first one is installed credit, and that's pretty much a payment that's going to be the same every month. So that would be like, the secured would be a car payment or a house payment. So something you have security on. And that payment's going to be the same every month until it's paid in full. Unsecured would be like a signature loan. So you sign on the dotted line, you said, okay, I promise I'm going to pay this amount for every month until it's paid in full. Then you have the non-installment credit, and that's like your credit cards. So it's also called revolving because it's open-ended, revolving. Every month it's going to change. It's going to be whatever you charge on that card, revolving. Single payment loans, that's not too very popular, but that's okay, I take out a loan for $1,000 today, I promise to pay that back in 1 year with interest. So with that one single payment. Then there's cash advances and personal lines of credit. How do you get this credit? Well, there's 3 C's. First one is character. So the character is pretty much how you've handled your credit in the past. So that's where your credit score or credit report is going to come into play. Capacity. Do you have the capacity to pay it back? Meaning, do you have the income? Do you have the capacity to pay it back? Collateral. Do you have something that if you can't pay it back that they can take? Like a car loan or something like that. And the 4th C is your credit report. Your credit report and score are really important. And that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. So first, how is your credit measured? 2 things, credit report and credit score, 2 different things. So the credit report is a snapshot of your financial history, and it's made up of different items that we're going to look at. Your credit score, it's a statistical measure used to rate applicants based on various risk factors. And we're going to go into the different areas that they rate you on. So what is that credit report? You hear credit report, credit score, credit this, credit that, but a credit report is like a report card of how you've been doing your payments and how you've been handling your finances. A historical record of how and when you pay your bills, how much debt you have, how long you've had it, how long you've been managing these accounts. It's going to list some things like anything that hasn't been paid, so it's going to give every little detail. It's going to give all this information. So here's your components. The first part is going to be your personal information. You've got your name, address, date of birth, and social security number. Now they're not going to affect your score, but they may affect the data on here. So you need to make sure that information is correct to begin with. Employment information may or may not be on there. That's not going to affect your score at all. Payment history, that's the biggest one, or trade lines. So it's going to be your credit account. It's going to have every line item, every credit card, every personal loan, every time you borrowed money, from the time you started borrowing money. It could be when you were 15 and your parents put you on their credit card so you could start establishing credit then, or you came in the military with no credit at all. Now I started my credit. It's going to start then. It's going to have inquiries, a list of anybody who's pulled your credit report within the last 2 years. And then it's also going to have public record information. And this is going to be stuff like wage garnishments, bankruptcies, foreclosures, liens, judgments. So we don't want any public record information on there. So how do you get this credit report? Annualcreditreport.com is the best way to get it. That's the official site. Any other one is not. Or you can get it from each of the 3 reporting agencies. You've got Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. You can go to each one of those and pull it individually. Ordinarily, we're entitled to 1 free credit report from each credit reporting agency per year. However, I just learned yesterday that due to COVID-19, the credit reporting agencies are allowing us to pull one credit report per week. If you go to annualcreditreport.com, you can pull all three of them every week. And that's, they want to make sure the identity theft isn't happening in these times. Each one's going to have different information on you, a little bit different, so that's why I recommend we pull all three of them. During the time that you can only pull one from each of them a year, we recommend you pull one today. 4 months from now, pull another one, and then 4 months later, pull the other one. And that way you're staggering them, you're able to look at the different information. So here's your little logos for each one, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Again, annualcreditreport.com. Make sure that's what's in the browser, because I tried Googling it earlier, and it brought me something else up. I clicked on it, and good thing I'd been on it yesterday, because I was like, this doesn't look right. And I looked, and it was not annualcreditreport.com. So yeah, that's what their website looks like. You can also get your free credit report and score from us. So at the Urban and Family Readiness Center, your financial educators, myself and Rick Tomasky, they have a financial educator code through FINRA, but we can pull your credit report and score. It's going to pull your score, your report, and it's also going to give you an analysis. It's going to have all your stuff there, and it's going to say, okay, here's an analysis of your finances. You can go in and say, okay, what do I need to do to improve my score, and it's going to give you suggestions. So that's a really neat thing. I forgot to say, when you're doing this right here, this is only going to pull your report. It does not pull your score. That's separate. To get your score, actually I did mine yesterday on one of them, and it gave me the option to get a score. So I don't know if that's new because of the COVID or not. So that's your credit report. Now let's talk about the credit score. What is the credit score? Why should you even care? And how do you influence your score? I love this definition here. 3-digit number generated by a mathematical algorithm based on information in your credit report. Basically, it's a super secret algorithm from FICO. FICO's Fair Isaac and Company. They're the most commonly used credit scoring agency. So that's one we're going to talk about today. And that can range anywhere from 300 to 850. The higher, the better. So why should you care? It's going to influence what credit products will be available to you. Basically, it's going to, your score is going to determine what your interest rate is going to be. It's going to determine how long your loan is going to be for. It's going to determine how much you can borrow. It's going to determine all those, the cost, pretty much how much your loan is going to cost you. The lower the score, the higher the cost. So how do you influence your own score? 65% of your score is made up of your payment history and how much you owe. So you have total control over that. Pay on time, keep balances within their credit limit, and check your report and correct errors. And we'll talk about all these right here, how you can help your own credit score. So what's a good credit score? So your 800 to 850, I pulled this today from Experian. 8 to 850 is exceptional. So you're going to get the very best interest rates there are. And that's 21% of folks have exceptional credit. Very good, 25%, and that's 740 to 799. Good is 670 to 739, 21%, and you can see the fair and the very poor. Now that very poor there, 300 to 579. Can they still get a loan? Yeah, they can still get a loan, but they are going to pay the premium interest rate, the highest one out there. And that's the cost of having low credit or very poor credit. So here's your FICO score components. Like I said, 35% is made up of your history and how much you owe. So 35% or 65% is made up of those two. 35 is the payment history. 30 is about how much you owe. And then you've got 15% for the history, credit, the length of history. And then 10 and 10 for the credit mix and the new credit. And we're going to go into each one of those and explain it. So first, payment history. Again, that's 35% of your score. So do you pay your credit card on time? It's going to go back and say, okay, for the last, it shows on your credit card on the credit report for the last several years. It's gonna say, were they on time, were they 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late, did they never even pay it? So that's your payment history. What I tell people when they're having problems with this part, as long as you're making an on-time payment, make that minimum payment. You know, so if you can't pay the whole thing off, pay that minimum payment, make that little dot green. On this recency, the more recent it is, the more severe it's gonna be on your credit score. The example here is 30 days late last month is worse than 90 days late 5 years ago. Severity, again, how late was it? Was it only 30 days? Was it 90 days, 60 days? So, and how often did it happen? Did it happen just one time, or did it happen every month on every account? 30% is how much you owe. And what they're basing this off of, how much you owe compared to what your limit is. So if your limit, we'll use the example of $1,000. If your limit's $1,000 and you have $1,000 on that card, that's really gonna affect that credit score. That's considered maxed out. Some people even go over their credit limit, which is gonna affect even more. So this is gonna show you how to determine it. Total credit used, so how much you have on your credit card, divided by the total available credit. So in this example, let's use a $1,000 limit, and the total use was $300. So that's gonna give you, you're right there at 30%. So you want it less than 30%, which is consistent with FICO. We recommend no more than 20%. A lot of other places, anywhere 10, 20, and 30%. So anything over 30% is gonna affect your credit score. How long have you had your credit? That determines 15% of your score. And what that means is how long have you had that card? The older cards are considered your golden cards.